In our previous videos, we got our little Flask project up and running, including routing between templates. One issue that we have, however, is that we have a lot of duplicated code. The nav bar, for example, is the same in our index, about, and contact.html files. Any changes that we make would have to be reflected across all three of these files. One of the beauties of using a framework like Flask or Django is that they allow us to reuse as much code as possible. Let's create a base template that can act as our primary page. I will duplicate the index.html file and then rename that new copy to base.html. Using the shortcut command of Ctrl-Shift-K, I can easily delete an entire line of code, so I will delete the h1 header. In its place, I will write the words block content wrapped inside of curly brackets and the percentage symbols. On the next line, I'll do the same, but put the word end block. What we're doing here is defining a block or an area that we can inject content into from other pages. The difference between the percentage sign and the double curly bracket notation that we've used before is that the double curly brackets contain an expression which is outputting something either onto the screen or in this case into our href. The curly bracket and percentage are for statements that control the flow of our template, such as a for loop, if statement, or this block element. Now that we have that done, let's go back into the index.html file. I'm going to delete all of the code that I put above my h1 and all of the code that I put below it. We're then going to put in its place extends base.html, making sure that base.html is inside of quotes, but the entire statement is wrapped inside of curly brackets and percentage symbols. I'll explain what all of this is doing in a moment. We then refer to our block element again, which, if you remember, we've called content. This will contain my h1 that says home page. Then we'll put the closing end block after that. You might be thinking, what in the world is going on here? Essentially, when our index.html file loads, Flask inherits everything from the base template. It looks for a block element, which we've called content, and injects that content into it. The word content is just a word that we chose, but we could have called the block anything, not just content. In fact, if we have multiple blocks on a page, that's exactly what we would do. After saving the file, you can see I have a yellow squiggly line at the beginning of the file, as well as a yellow exclamation mark on the file itself. If I hover over this, you can see that the warning is doc type must be declared first. We don't need to worry about this warning, since the doc type is actually being extended from our base.html file, so we don't need to add it again. When I refresh and go back to my home page, you can see that it displays just the same as it was before. I will now just copy all of this and paste it into my About page. The only change I need to make now is to change the H1 header from Home page to About page. Let's repeat the exact same with the Contact page, but update the H1 to say Contact Us. When I save that and refresh the preview page, you can see that we still have all three pages. This is all now inheriting from base.html, and we have a lot less code in our HTML files. This also means that if we make a change, like adding a new root and view, then we don't have to change it in every file. Let me demonstrate that. Remember, 2 blank spaces between each of our Python functions. I will create a new root and call it /careers. Then bind a new view to that, which will also be called careers. Finally, this is going to return render template careers.html. After saving that, go back to the base template and add a new link for careers at the end. Just copy the last list item element, paste below that, change the URL for to the new careers view, and put the word careers as the link text. I will duplicate the contact.html file and then rename it to careers.html. Inside of the new careers.html page, I will just change the H1 heading so that it says, "Come work with us." When I save this and go back to refresh my preview, we can see that the navbar has indeed updated. It has also been updated for every single file, because it's now inheriting from the base template. This is all extremely useful and quite powerful. We've now seen how to create a template and then inherit or extend from that template to other files using block elements. In this series of videos, we've seen how to go from a very simple Flask application that just says "Hello World" to a more complicated one that actually allows us to route between different templates, and also how to inherit from templates as well so that we don't have to duplicate code. In our next set of videos, we are going to have a look at how to style our project.